Imagine for a moment that you are standing in the middle of a vast ancient library.
Okay.
The kind with, dust motes dancing in the light beams and that smell of old paper everywhere. You pull a book off a high shelf. The binding is cracked leather, centuries old. You expect it to be a collection of moral fables, maybe a legal code from a dead empire.
Right. Some poetry, something
What?
that's...
But then you open it, and instead of statutes or stories, you see, well, you see schematics, you see circuit diagrams, chemical equations. You're looking at the blueprints for a machine.
That's a jarring image.
Yeah.
It completely disrupts what we'd expect from history.
It does, and it forces a very specific and I think very provocative question that we are going to wrestle with today. What if we have been reading the manual wrong for 1,000 years? What if the texts we treat as social rules or religious laws are actually a blueprint for a biological machine? A machine governed not by tradition or patriarchy or culture, but by the literal physics of water, electricity, and quantum mechanics.
That is the question that just stops you in your tracks. And usually if someone pitched that idea to me, that ancient theology is actually disguised quantum physics, I would probably, roll my eyes and walk away.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like pseudoscience. It sounds like someone trying way too hard to make things fit.
I would be right there with you.
Yep.
Usually I'm the biggest skeptic in the room.
But today is different. We were looking at a stack of research that is, and I don't say this lightly, arguably one of the most intellectually ambitious projects we have ever covered on a deep dive. We're looking at the work of Dr. Khaled Waleed. And I have to say, purely as an intellectual exercise, the internal consistency of what he has built it's frighteningly tight. It holds together in a way that demands your attention.
It's incredibly dense material. We were looking at what he calls the Khaled Waleed Unified Energy Matter Inheritance Model, or KWM for short. Even the name sounds like something out of a theoretical physics paper, not a humanities class. And our mission today is to do exactly what you said. We need to strip away the theology for a moment, strip away the cultural baggage. We are going to look at the mechanics. We're going to treat this strictly as a theory of physics.
Exactly. And we need to be very clear with you, the listener, right up front. We are exploring a specific intellectual framework. We aren't here to debate the theology or the religious validity of the source texts.
Not at all.
We're here to unpack the internal logic of Dr. Khaled Waleed's research. We want to see how he takes H2O, literally a water molecule, and uses it to explain why, in his model, these inheritance laws function the way they do.
It sounds wild, I know, but when you see the diagrams he's drawn, it starts to make this eerie amount of sense. So let's open the manual. The central premise here is that the universe, and specifically the human species, operates on a strict duality.
A binary code.
Yes, exactly. The Great Divide. Dr. Khaled argues that we have to stop looking at humans as just people. He separates existence into two distinct realms, matter and energy, or, in the terminology he uses from the model, the jism and the jasad.
And this isn't just a poetic distinction, it's critical.
Yeah.
In English, if I say my body, I could mean my physical arm, or I could mean myself, my presence in a room. We use the word so loosely. Dr. Khaled argues that the source text is scientifically precise. Jism is the material body. Jasad is the energetic body.
So they're as different as what, like the hardware of your laptop and the software running on the screen?
That's a perfect analogy. Exactly that. One is the physical machine, the other is the operating system.
Let's drill down into the jism first. The material body. This is the meat suit, right? The thing that gets hungry and tired.
Crude, but accurate, yes.
Yes.
The jism is the biological vessel. It occupies space. It has mass. It decays. It's subject to gravity. And here's where the model starts to categorize us in a way that might feel uncomfortable at first, but you have to stick with the physics. Dr. Khaled identifies the specific terms men, or real, and women, or nisa, as belonging strictly to this material realm.
So wait, in this framework, when the text says men and women, it isn't talking about our souls or our essence.
No, not at all. It is talking about the operational industrial capacity of the human being. The function of the jism, and therefore the function of men and women, is production and action.
So kinetic energy.
Yes, kinetic energy. Moving things, building things, changing the physical state of the world. It's the factory floor of humanity.
Okay, so on one side of the ledger we have the producers, men and women, the hardware. Now, what is the jasad?
The jasad is the energetic body. This is the psychological vessel, the seat of the self, the ghost in the machine, so to speak. It's the thing that feels fear or love or ambition. And Dr. Khaled links this to a completely different set of terms. Male, dakar, and female.
Hold on. This is a massive linguistic pivot. In English, and honestly in most casual conversation, man and male are synonyms. I use them interchangeably a dozen times a day. You're telling me this model treats them as mutually exclusive concepts.
Not just exclusive functional opposites. In Dr. Khalid's framework, male and female refer to the energetic polarity. Think of it like a battery. You have a positive terminal and a negative terminal.
Right.
You wouldn't call the positive terminal a man, would you? It's a charge. It's a direction of flow.
So male-female describes the charge, and man-woman describes the casing of the battery.
Precisely. The function of the male-female polarity isn't production. It's purification and reception. It's about flow.
Yeah.
It's about processing the energy that the material body interacts with.
This reminds me of that bizarre metaphor Dr. Khaled uses in the research, the comparison between humans and genies.
Yes.
Or ins and jinn.
Right, and this is one of those moments where the cultural baggage of the words can really trip us up, so we have to be careful.
Yeah, I hear jinn, I think of Aladdin.
Of course. Or spirits, or smokeless fire. But Dr. Khaled is using the etymology of the word. Jinn comes from a root meaning hidden. He uses it to describe a state of being hidden or energetic.
So he classifies men and women, the material producers, as the ins, the humans.
Right, because they are visible, they are tangible, you can poke them, and they are responsible for what the model calls nasib, the material share.
Okay, nasib. Got it. And he classifies males and females, the energetic charges, as the jinn.
Because the charge is hidden. You can't see the electricity on the wire, but you know it's there because the light turns on. These energetic beings are responsible for has.
Energetic fortune.
Exactly.
So we are essentially hybrids. I'm walking around with a human material shell that goes to work and earns a paycheck, my nasib. But inside there is a genie circuit that feels, receives, and processes energy, my has.
And that hybrid nature dictates what Dr. Khaled calls the economy of action. This is where the model gets really interesting regarding religious practices. It stops looking at them as just rituals, things you do because you're told to, and starts looking at them as transactions in this dual economy.
Okay, like take prayer or salat.
Exactly. In this model, salat is a material action. It's performed by the jism. Think about it structurally. It requires physical movement. You stand, you bow, you prostrate.
It takes time. It burns calories.
It displaces air. It is work in the physics sense force times distance.
So because it's a material output?
It generates a material good, generates nasib, you earn it. It's a wage for the body's labor. It creates a credit on the material balance sheet.
Okay, so contrast that with charity or zakat.
Charity is described here as an energetic flow. It's not about the physical movement of handing over money, although that's part of it. It's about the release of assets. It's received by the jasad, the energetic body.
It's a purification process, right? Tazkiyah.
That's the word. And because it clears the blockage in the energetic system, it generates haz. It generates luck.
Okay, I want to pause here because this distinction between nasib and haz seems to be the absolute linchpin for everything that follows, especially with inheritance.
It is.
In English, we might say, it was my share of the luck. We mix them. We treat them as synonyms for good stuff happening to me. But here they are. They're oil and water.
They are fundamentally different forces. Let's define nasib, the share, very carefully. In Dr. Khaled's view, nasib implies debt and responsibility.
Debt. That's counterintuitive. Usually a share is something good. I want my share of the pie.
But in a material system, a share means you are now holding part of the load. If you own a share of a company, you own a share of its liabilities, its problems.
Oh, okay.
It is something you acquire through toil, through action, through that salat we just talked about. It belongs to the realm of men and women, the producers. If you have a nasib, you have a duty to manage it. It's heavy. It has gravity.
And haz.
Haz is luck, fortune. It's lightweight, energetic. It represents grace and gift. You do not toil for haz.
Right. You can't work hard to get lucky.
By definition, if you worked for it, it's a wage. It's nasib. Luck is something that flows to you because of your energetic positioning. It's the universe aligning in your favor without your physical intervention.
It's the difference between your paycheck, which you sweated for, and winning a raffle, which just happened to you.
Or, to use the model's language, one acts upon the world to get nasib, and the other allows the divine flow to act upon you to receive haz. And here is the crucial distinction for inheritance, the key that unlocks Dr. Khaled's whole argument. Inheritance laws are a blend of these two concepts.
How so? Where do they mix?
Well, look at the relationships. You have parents. You have a material relationship with them. They raised you, they fed you, they physically brought you into existence.
Okay, that's a lot of material work.
It's a labor contract, in a way. So what you get from them is nasib. It's a settling of that material debt.
But children?
Children are different. Children are the future. They are potential. You don't possess children materially. You steward their energy. Therefore, in inheritance, you are gifted fortune, has based on your energetic makeup. The inheritance rules shift completely when we talk about children because we're moving from the world of material debt to the world of energetic flow.
This is the perfect segue to the centerpiece of the theory. We've set the stage. Matter versus energy, share versus look. Now, Dr. Khaled drops the hammer. He says this whole system is based on the chemical composition of water.
The H2O analogy. This is where the physics really takes over.
It's a bold move.
Yeah.
He connects that famous, and let's be honest, often controversial verse regarding children, for the male is the share of two females, directly to a water molecule.
He takes it literally. The source text says, and we made from water every living thing, Dr. Khaled argues. If water is the blueprint of life, and this inheritance law is a manual for life, then the law must follow the structure of water. It can't contradict the fundamental building block of biology.
Okay, so we all know the formula, H2O. 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom.
Right. Now map the inheritance terms Dr. Khaled has defined onto the periodic table. In this model, the female represents hydrogen.
Why hydrogen? What's the connection?
Think about the properties of hydrogen. It's the most abundant element in the universe. It's the primary fuel of stars.
It's everywhere.
It is the vessel, the existence, the primary energy source.
Yeah.
Without hydrogen, there is no universe as we know it. But can you drink pure hydrogen?
No, it's a gas. It's highly flammable.
Exactly. It's pure, unstable potential. It wants to react. For water to exist, for life to be stable, you need 2 hydrogens. And you need something to bind them.
Enter the oxygen.
The male. In this model, the male represents oxygen. Oxygen is the active agent. It enables combustion. It is the stabilizer.
So when the text says 1 male, 2 females, it's not saying the male is worth 2 females in terms of value or superiority. It's saying mechanically you need 1 oxygen to handle 2 hydrogens.
It's about valency and equilibrium. This is high school chemistry, but he's applying it to social engineering. Look at a diagram of a water molecule. You have 1 large oxygen atom. To create a stable molecule that sustains life, that single oxygen atom must bond with 2 hydrogen atoms. The oxygen balances the electromagnetic charge. Dr. Khaled calls this the standardizer concept.
Let's play devil's advocate here. What happens if you change the ratio? Because socially people say, why not 1 to 1? But physically, what happens if you have 1 male, 1 oxygen, and 1 female, 1 hydrogen?
You get OH, hydroxide. It's a radical. It's highly reactive. It tears other molecules apart. It's not water. It can't sustain life.
Or what if you flip it? 2 oxygens and 1 hydrogen.
Well, you can't really make a stable molecule like that easily. But let's say you have H2O2, hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
2 oxygens, 2 hydrogens. It's corrosive. You can't drink it. It kills bacteria, but it doesn't sustain biological systems in the same way water does.
That's actually a really powerful image. The specific ratio of 2.1 isn't arbitrary. In chemistry, it's the only way to get stable, life-giving liquid water.
Precisely. The model argues that the inheritance ratio of 2.1 isn't about social superiority. It is a physics equation for maintaining the fluidity of the family structure. The male acts as the oxygen that stabilizes the high energy potential of the 2 females, the hydrogens. If you alter that ratio, the social molecule becomes volatile.
This completely flips the narrative. It turns it from a statement of value, he is better than her, to a statement of function. He is the clamp, she is the fuel. You don't say a screw is better than a bolt. They just fit into the machine differently.
And Dr. Khaled supports this with a very specific linguistic nuance that I found absolutely fascinating. He points out that the source text uses a specific grammatical form that doesn't really exist in English.
The dual form, right. I know Arabic is unique that way.
Yes. In English, we have singular cat and plural cats. In Arabic, you have singular dual for specifically 2 and plural for 3 or more. Dr. Khaled notes that the text uses the phrase, the share of 2 females. Specifically the dual form unthayain, only when discussing haz.
One-side.
Yes. The suffix implies a bonded pair. But when the text discusses material mass or other relationships, it switches to specific numbers like ithnatain, 2, or just refers to women, nisa.
So the text itself changes vocabulary depending on whether it's talking about the physics of energy or just, counting people in a room.
That is the argument. The use of unthayain in that specific verse confirms, for Dr. Khaled, that we are talking about an energetic, physics-based pairing, like the two hydrogens in a water molecule, not just a head count. It's treating the two females as a single functional unit in the equation.
This actually clarifies something that has always confused me about these inheritance laws. The rules seem completely different for parents versus for children. Parents usually get fixed fractions, like 1/6, but children get this floating 2.1 ratio. Why the difference? If it's about men and women or males and females, why doesn't the rule apply everywhere?
It comes back to that core concept of time, past versus future, matter versus energy.
Okay, let's unpack that. Parents are the past.
Think about it. Parents represent material reality. They have already lived their lives. They have performed their salat, their work. They have built the wealth. They are a known quantity. We know who they are. We know their faults, their successes.
Therefore, their inheritance is nasib.
Correct. It's a material share. It's a fixed debt the estate owes them for their role in the material creation of the deceased. It's a paycheck for being the origin. That's why it's a fixed fraction 1/6. It's a calculated material settlement. It's just accounting.
And Dr. Khaled points out that God leaves the will, wasiyah, for parents open to the God-fearing.
Right. The text says you can make a bequest to parents. Why? Because the material debt to parents is observable. We know what our parents did for us. If your parents were abusive or they were saints, you know that. You, as a human, have the data to judge that material debt. You have the receipts, so to speak, in the material world.
But children are the great unknown.
Precisely. Children represent the future and potential energy. The source text says explicitly, you do not know which of them is closer to you in benefit.
Right.
Parents don't know if their son will become a drug addict or a Nobel Prize winner. They don't know if their daughter will be the one to care for them in old age or abandon them.
So we can't be trusted to calculate their share because we lack the data. We're blind to the future.
Exactly. We are blind to the potential. Because children are energy, jasad, pure potential churs. Dr. Khaled argues that God intervenes directly. He takes the decision out of the parents' hands. He applies the water law, the 2.1 ratio, to ensure the energetic survival of the species.
It's a safeguard, a default setting.
It's hazluck, or gift. It's a divine distribution of potential energy, structured to keep the flow of life stable, just like water. If parents tried to decide, they would base it on emotion or favoritism, which might destabilize the molecule. The 2.1 ratio is a universal constant applied to the variable of the future.
That is fascinating. So the 2.1 ratio for children isn't a judgment on them. It's a standard operating procedure for potential energy.
And Dr. Khaled maps this onto the human body itself to drive the point home. He associates the head and forelock with the center of the material body, the jism.
The head. Okay, that's where the brain is. Logic. Math.
Exactly. This is where nasib is calculated. It's cold, hard calculation. I worked X hours, I get Y pay. But the chest and heart, that is the center of the energetic body, the jasad. That is where Ha's and purification happen.
Head for math, heart for flow.
Essentially. The parents are the head-fixed, logical material. The children are the heart-pumping, vital, energetic. You treat the head with fixed rules, like 1/6. You treat the heart with fluid dynamics, the 2.1.
I want to go back to the water thing for a second because there is a layer of what he calls deep science here that Dr. Khaled gets into, and I don't want to skip it just because it gets technical.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about oxygen and hydrogen, but he goes even deeper into quantum water.
He does, and this addresses the mystery of the two females.
Yeah.
We established that the male, the oxygen, balances two females, two hydrogens. But who are these two females in a social context?
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually people just think it means daughters. If I have two daughters, they are the two females.
Dr. Khaled proposes a fascinating social physics here. He suggests we need to look at the male's position in the family web. The male, the oxygen, stands between two energetic poles, the mother and the sister.
Oh, wow. So the double share isn't for him to just buy a nicer car or have more fun. It's a functional budget to maintain these two distinct orbits.
Correct. He is the bridge, and Dr. Khaled brings in the physics of orthowater versus parawater.
I remember reading this in the notes and thinking, okay, now we are really in the lab. I didn't even know water came in different versions. What's the difference between ortho and parawater?
It's about the quantum spin of the hydrogen atoms. In a water molecule, you have two hydrogens. They aren't just sitting there, they are spinning. Now, those two atoms can either spin in the same direction, which is parallel, or in opposite directions, anti-parallel.
And this actually changes the behavior of the water.
Dramatically. It changes the energy state. Dr. Khaled maps this to the family structure. He equates para-water, where the spins are anti-parallel, and the state is lower energy, more stable, with the mother.
That makes sense intuitively. The mother is the root, the origin. She's static, stable, the anchor.
Exactly. And he equates ortho-water, where the spins are parallel and the energy is higher, more dynamic, with the sister.
The sister is the peer, the extension. She's active in the same generation. Dynamic.
So the male, the oxygen, is the thing that binds these two opposing spins together. He has to stabilize the static gravity of the mother, para, and the dynamic energy of the sister, ortho.
That creates a tremendous amount of tension. He's essentially holding two magnets that want to fly apart.
It does. Without the oxygen, you just have loose hydrogen gas,
Yeah.
highly flammable, unstable. The oxygen locks the mother energy and the sister energy into a cohesive liquid that sustains life.
It really reframes the role of the male in this model. It's not king of the castle. It's the stabilizer. He's the anchor that keeps the molecule from flying apart.
And he's bearing the load. He has to balance the spins. And there is a scientific finding Dr. Khaled cites regarding the asymmetry of hydrogen bonds in water that validates this. It turns out one hydrogen often forms a strong bond and the other forms a weaker bond. They are not duplicates.
Which validates the idea that the two females aren't just two of the same thing, they're a complementary pair.
Precisely. If they were identical, the tension might break the molecule. The asymmetry allows for fluidity. The male is the standardizer that manages this asymmetry. He is the fulcrum.
It's a lot to take in, but it's remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
If you buy the initial premise that these laws are physics, the rest follows so logically.
That is the strength of the KWMU. Its internal consistency it's just really, really tight. It treats the text like a technical schematic.
So we've looked at the atoms, the parents, children, males, females. Now let's look at the mechanics of the system. How does the machine actually process the inheritance? Because there are filters involved, right? You don't just dump the money on the table and start dividing.
No, absolutely not. Before any distribution happens, the model insists on purification. You cannot distribute the pure, which is the inheritance, until you remove the impure.
And the impure here isn't like dirty, it's just attached, encumbered.
Encumbered is the perfect word. There are two filters: debt, Dane, and will, Wasiya.
Okay, let's look at debt first, Dan. This cleanses the material body.
Yes. Debt is a material obligation. It hangs on the jism. If I owe you money, that is a physical reality. It must be paid to return rights to people. You have to zero out the material balance sheet of the deceased.
So before the heirs see a single dime, the creditors get paid.
Always. Matter first. The jism must be cleansed of its obligations.
Then the will, bestia.
And this cleanses the energetic body, the jasad. Dr. Khaled describes the will as a voluntary release of energy. It's a final act of agency. It's the soul saying, I want to give this to that charity or this friend. It's not a debt, it's a choice. It allows the jasad to release its final attachment to the material world.
So the sequence is vital. Clean the body of its debts, clean the soul of its attachments, and only then do you apply the water law to the heirs.
Exactly. If you try to inherit before cleaning the debt, you are inheriting impure matter. You're effectively eating the debt. You are taking on the burden without the blessing.
Okay, now, what happens when the machine breaks, or rather, when parts are missing? Dr. Khaled analyzes the case of kalala. This is a term that confuses a lot of people.
Kalala. It refers to a person who dies, leaving no parents and no children.
So the vertical line, the past and the future, is broken. There is no root, the parents, and no fruit, the children.
Exactly. The energy has nowhere to flow vertically. The circuit is cut at both ends. The tree of life has no trunk.
So where does the energy go?
The system shifts to the horizontal, the siblings, the lateral line.
And does the water law apply here?
It depends. And this is where the genius of the model shows up. If it is just sisters, just females, Dr. Khaled notes they get 2/3.
Why 2/3? Why not the 2.1 rule?
Because there is no oxygen. There's no male to stabilize the water structure. You have pure hydrogen energy. So the law treats them as a material block. It reverts to mass. They share a bulk amount. They are treated like the parents, a known quantity.
But if you mix brothers and sisters,
Then the water law, the 2.1 ratio, reactivates. Because now you have the ingredients for H2O. You have the oxygen, the brother, and the hydrogen, the sister. The system stabilizes the chaotic energy of the lateral line by forming molecules of inheritance.
That explains why the rules seem to toggle back and forth. It's not arbitrary. It's all about whether you have the necessary components to run the water reaction.
It's just chemistry. If you have the reagents, the reaction happens. If you don't, the state of matter changes.
This logic also applies to the distinction between the orphan and what Dr. Khaled calls the sab, or descendant.
This is a subtle but critical point. A sab is when the father dies, but the mother is still alive. The vertical line is cut from above.
So the oxygen source, the father, is gone.
Right. So the son takes the 2.1 ratio. Why? Because he must now step up. He becomes the oxygen for the remaining structure, his mother and his sister. He steps into that stabilizing role. He inherits the function, not just the money.
But if the mother dies...
That makes the child an orphan in this specific linguistic framework. The dynamic changes because the vessel, the energy, the mother, is gone. The hydrogen source, the womb, the origin is lost.
And you can't have water without hydrogen.
You can't. So the focus of the law shifts from distribution to care. You can't just apply the water law because the vessel itself is broken. You need to nurture the orphan until they can form their own bonds. It becomes a protective mandate, not just a fiscal one. The machine goes into a kind of safe mode.
It's a completely different algorithm for a different state of matter.
Exactly.
There is one last section of this theory that takes us off the periodic table and onto the map. The geographic implications. This part felt very Indiana Jones to me.
The nut cue, or separation.
Yeah.
This is where Dr. Khaled ties the physics to the literal geography of the Holy Lands.
He describes Mecca and Baka, which is a term often associated with the ancient valley of Mecca or potentially Jerusalem, as having energetic polarities.
Yes. He describes Mecca as the womb, or the female polarity. It's the energy center, the hydrogen source, high energy, chaotic, vital. It attracts people like a magnet.
And Baka?
Baka is described as the back, or male polarity, the material center, structure, law, the backbone.
And sitting right there in the region is the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea represents a specific point of high material density. It's the lowest point on Earth. It is incredibly saline, incredibly dense. You literally float because the water is so thick with matter. In Dr. Khaled's model, this geography isn't random. It's a manifestation of these physics interactions.
So the tension between the high energy of the womb, Mecca, and the material structure of the back, Baka, creates these intense geological features.
Exactly. The map itself is a diagram of jism and jasad. The lowest point on Earth corresponds to the heaviest material density. It's where the weight of the nasib settles. It's as if the Earth itself is responding to the laws of energy and matter described in the model.
So let's zoom out. We have covered a massive amount of ground. We've gone from atoms to anatomy to maps. We've redefined men and women as hardware and software. We've turned inheritance into a chemistry experiment.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
If I'm a listener trying to explain this to a friend at a dinner party, what's the headline? What is the one thing that sums all of this up?
The headline is this. The Khaled Waleed Unified Energy Matter Inheritance Model posits that inheritance isn't about money. It's about maintaining the hydroelectric balance of the human species.
So it's not a bank transfer, it's a circuit board.
Right. Men and women are matter. They are the input. They work, they pray, they generate the mass. Male and female are energy. They are the output. They receive, they purify, they carry the future.
And the laws, specifically that controversial 2.1 ratio, are just the formula for stable water. 1 oxygen, 2 hydrogens.
It creates a system where everyone has a role, not based on worth, but based on function. It removes the ego from the equation. You aren't getting less because you are less. You are receiving a specific charge to fulfill a specific reaction. If you overcharge the hydrogen, the molecule explodes. If you undercharge the oxygen, the molecule falls apart.
It really forces you to rethink the boundary between science and scripture.
It raises a profound question. If Dr. Khaled is right, and these social laws are actually based on the same laws that hold a water molecule together, what else are we missing?
Exactly.
What other religious instructions are actually just misunderstood physics equations waiting to be solved? Are we performing chemistry every time we pray? Are we balancing equations when we give charity?
It suggests that the manual was never about control, it was about mechanics, and we are only just now learning how to read the schematic.
And that is a humbling thought.
That is something I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. I want to remind everyone that this entire intellectual framework, the water molecule theory, the energy-matter split, the orthopera analysis, is the specific research and property of Dr. Khaled Waleed. We are just the tourists here, walking through the cathedral of ideas he's built.
A truly fascinating deep dive.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the physics of inheritance. We'll see you in the next one.